This is John Hardy with you, and we're asking the question of business owners and leaders today, and wondering whether you can answer this question about your staff or your teams. You're not fired. And we're looking, as we talked in our first session, just the overall thinking that's going on in and around you as a business owner, business leader, about your staff, and whether you've actually built a strategy by which you can engage your staff and you know your staff are growing. And I mentioned that you can actually build a matrix. And I know the work that I do with Harrison and teams, we can actually show you what the team matrix is in the paradox theories about what's going on with all of your staff. And it really is quite powerful and quite interesting. So however you go about doing that, I want to encourage you to think about what it is that you're doing about building a matrix of strengths of each of your team members. And I work with a really cool HR portal. If you want to find out about that, please get in contact with me and we'll tell you how to do that towards the end of the show. So build a matrix, and there's really interesting ways of doing that. You could use a profile called Strength Finder and actually ask the question of all of your staff. And you get a book for them. In the book there is a profile. They do the profile gets generated, and they can send it to you as well as to themselves, and you will find out what your top 5, top 10 strengths are of each of your staff members, and in the book is a description of those strengths. There's lots of ways in which you can do that. You can do another thing which I also use, which is DISC profiling, which then helps you understand the behaviors of your staff and how they communicate and how they would like to be communicated with. So there's really cool things that we as coaches have to help you as a business owner. But there's some very practical things that you can do that are very easy to take up. I wonder, do you have any kind of team meetings going on in your business? I've coached many people, many business owners, and I've asked this question on a regular basis. When's your team meeting? How often do you do it? How long is it for? Does it have an agenda? Do you reiterate the mission, vision, and values of your business within that structure? Do you release people to lead that meeting as well as yourself? Do you engage them to really execute out of that meeting? And they got very clear expectations of what needs to be delivered, done and delivered before and presented at the next team meeting. I think it's one of the great things that you can do, whether it's two or three people, or 3 or 4, or 5 or 6, or you might break them into, if you've got 30, you certainly would want to break them into smaller groups so they can meet, interact, and the best size sociologically is 8. That's a really good size to work with, good interactions, a good number of relationships, and it really is a place where majority of people within that room have space to actually talk and engage. Team meetings are really powerful. In the trade industry, they call them toolbox time, and that really is getting around the toolbox, picking out a particular tool resource that the guys need, working through that, looking at a new skill, those kind of things. It's a great time to do many, many things, and it gives you a chance to do my 29 principle, which is very simply every 29 days, really lifting the vision, mission, values of the organization, sharing that in different and creative ways with the team so they know, yeah, this is who we are, this is where we're going, there's a clear and consistent message, and in between that time you break it into smaller bite sizes. You have a time in that team meeting where you can do training and development, where you can ask open questions, where people can give you feedback, and it really is a very, very powerful tool, and you can get different ones to chair it, run it, set the agenda with you. And one thing I don't want you to do in team meetings, and that is open the floor to anybody to make a comment or add new business to a team meeting. Never, never, never do that. It's dangerous for that. People kind of think on the fly. Oh, the boss is going to give us a chance to say anything that we want in the team meeting, and you simply have a simple rule. If there is any other business, you are allowed to articulate what it is, but it will not be discussed in that meeting. It will be prepared for the next team meeting that we have. So you never open the floor for any comments or any general thoughts or any general ideas that anybody might have, because you're opening yourself up to all sorts of weird things happening, and not a good idea. But also, the very practical thing about it is if people do have ideas about things that they want to talk about, great to hear that from you, Graham, today, that thought. What I want you to do is, I want you to prepare a very short commentary on that. And so when we send out the agenda or send out the meeting notes for our next time, we'll send it out with that. People have had time to think, process it, and we will have a very, give 5 to 10 minutes of conversation about it. And that way everybody's done some preparation thinking. And in the meantime, you can be talking to Graham. Graham can be talking to other staff. He can get some thoughts and ideas and really develop it to be something that is very powerful and concrete for the organization. So, just alone in team meetings. And in a similar vein, one-on-one or very small group meetings on a regular basis. Say you have 30 staff. There is 52 weeks in the year. And if you spent every week with 2 of your staff members on a one-to-one basis, they can be 15 to 20-minute sessions where you sit down with them, get to know about who they are, what's going on in their world, how well they're doing within the business, what challenges they might be facing at home, what's going on with the kids, how well is the relationship, how well is that staff member doing within the organization. Is really, really powerful, and you'll find that they'll tell you all sorts of really interesting things about what's going on in their world, because you simply ask open questions, interesting questions for them to engage with you about, and you'll get to share some things about what's going on in your world, not necessarily all the intricacies of the business. And sometimes they will ask that, hey, what's the profit of the business? Say, I appreciate that, but that's not really an area for this commentary. It's really what we do as senior management. But what we do with that, every 6 months we'll give a general report, or every 3 months about the whole business. And we're about to do that actually next week. So hey, stay tuned in the team meeting or in the way you disseminate that across the organization. Because there's some questions, people are just kind of a little bit nosy and a little bit self-interested in, or want to get the latest gossip, or want to know things that other people don't know. So they've got a bit of power of other staff. So be aware of that. Don't get too caught up into that, but really keep it personal. It's a really powerful way. And of course, as the business grows and as the staff level grows, you probably would want to delegate some of that. So you might not be able to see all your staff one-on-one. You could do that in small groups very quickly and very easily. Again, 15, 20 minutes, spending some time with small teams, small groups, and just asking interesting questions about who they are and what's going on in their world and how are they coping with the responsibilities in the business. It's a really powerful thing to do, because then this will help you with this area that sometimes is a struggle for business owners and business operators, and that is the word performance management. This is where sometimes what we're doing is we're trying to figure out a way how we can fire that person. And when you do team meetings, when you do one-on-one or small group meetings, when you're listening to your staff and your line managers are doing the same thing, you are preempting problems. Listen to me, you are preempting problems, because what happens is when people don't have the opportunity to give feedback, aren't listened to, they think about all sorts of weird things, and it escalates within their own mind. They share it with their mates. Oh yeah, I've been thinking about that as well. And you just diffuse powerfully all of that. So your performance management then is all about a development of that staff member, helping them grow, helping them take to the next level, finding out what courses they may need to go on, what professional development they might need corporately within the organization or personally for them. And it might be that they are a welder, they know how to do arc welding, but you might want to train them on how to do aluminium welding. You know, things like that would just upskill them, give them an added value into the business. They can do multiple types of skills within the organization. You can move them around the workshop or around the office because they have those skills that you've worked with them on and they're trained to do. You might put them through getting a training organization to take them through their certifications on various areas. And so we're going to keep talking about this and helping you. So just going to be back in just a short while and bring this to a conclusion, helping you answer the question, can you answer this question? You're not fired.